Welcome back to my channel, Teaching Learning English. As you know, in this channel we mainly talk about business communication, English language, IELTS practice and other academic and writing skills that are very useful for the students and the professionals. Today in this video I'm going to talk about the English language learnings. Mainly whatever language you learn, but there are something that are very important to know during or while learning English language and other language. Let's talk about the second language, okay? If you are learning as a second language, the English language, then obviously you need to go through some of the, formulas, some of the techniques and strategies that make your way or your process of learning easier rather than if you go without any conscious effort and something like that. So let me tell you, you can take these things as the tips or suggestions, whatever you can think about these, but these are some supportive factors, some tips, some suggestions to you during your English practice to make your English fluent, more comfortable, and to make English language learning more natural. Because while we talk about language learning, especially the second language, at that time, naturalness requires priority in comparison to the other aspects. Some people want to make their language use correct as much as they can, but it is not the right way to practice English language and to learn about it. So what you need to do is you need to adopt some of the ways, some of the tips and formulas through which you can make your English language easier. The first and most important thing is to think about the language use. For example, you don't have anybody else to speak and to practice your English language, but you can think about some of the situation and you can imagine what would you say at that time. Okay, while talking with the person, while taking part in the conversation, these are some of the very important things that you need to understand. And another is, why don't you speak with yourself? First one is to imagine the situation and to think about what would you say, what type of questions would you ask, and how would you respond to somebody's question. That is very important. So you speak English with yourself. You imagine the situation and you play different roles, sometimes a role of teacher, sometimes a role of students, sometimes a role of shopkeepers, sometimes a role of customers, whatever you feel comfortable, that role you will assign yourself and you think about that. Mainly, you need to understand some of the types of the sentences. For example, in English there are mainly 4 types of sentences. Why don't you use those sentences as you are that person, while assigning yourself the role. For example, the first type of sentence is a statement. Statements is that we most of the time we communicate, we speak, we write, we listen, and we read the statement type of sentences, and it is said that more than 70% sentences of English they are in statement types. While reading the newspaper, while reading books, while listening to the radio, and while watching the televisions, while taking part in the conversation also, we have many more statement types of sentences. The statement type of sentence is, it initiates or it begins with subject and ends with object. So in SVO pattern, which is the basic pattern of English language as well, subject, verb, object. Okay, and the second type of sentence, they are called interrogative, or you can often say that one is the question type of sentence. You can ask some of the questions is on the basis appropriate to your roles. So why don't you use some of these statements that in imagination, in thought, you can talk with yourself, assigning you the particular role of the particular person and post. For example, suppose you are a doctor. So you assign the role to perform of a doctor. So you can use some of the statement type of sentences, for example, prescriptions and some suggestions, some things and you will describe about the disease and problem and medicine, side effects. These all come under the statement type of sentences. And the second one is, I have already mentioned that, the question type of sentence, where what you do is you ask some very potential questions. How long have you been suffering from this type of problem? Pain, disease, what type of lifestyle do you have? Do you take proper rest, and do you eat balanced diet or proper hygienic food? So many things are there, okay, about lifestyle, rest, exercise, and food. So about those topics, you can ask some questions to yourself when you assign yourself as the patient of, let's say, the doctor. And the third one is obviously imperative type of sentences, where you do you make some commands and requests. The two types of sentences come under the imperative types. You make some commands and some requests. As we know, commands are used when we give order to somebody else. They look like more direct and straightforward, and more domination from the side of the speakers. And requests are more polite in comparison to command, and they are the indirect way of assigning, giving order to the people's request. It's something like that. So these two types of sentences also comes under the imperative type of sentence. And the last one is exclamatory type of sentence. You use those sentences when you are you have some sort of emotion. Your expression is more guided by the emotion rather than your thought. Feeling emotions. You are very happy, you are very sad, you are frustrated, you don't like this. At that time, you can use the exclamatory type of sentences. So these four types of sentences are very important to practice by assigning yourself a particular type of role. You can be a shopkeeper, you can be a teacher, you can be a student, you can be a doctor, a patient, whoever, a driver, librarian, okay, the mother, the brother, whatever you are. You can assign yourself the role, that roles, and on the basis of which you can use those sentences. This is the first and very important, very useful type of tips and techniques to improve your English language. And the second one is talking with yourself. You can talk even though there are no people. So this is very useful for developing the speech. You talk thinking that there is someone. This is very useful when you have the one-way type of communication, but in conversation it's also possible. You ask some questions and you imagine somebody has answered, on the basis of which you clarify that answers and ask again questions, and you imagine that somebody is asking you a question and you are answering. This is also very important way of improving English language, but it is very much useful in preparing the speech, lectures and preaching. If you really want to develop your speech, speaking habit for speech. I have heard one story about Mahatma Gandhi, that he was encouraged by one priest, one sheikh, one rishi, that encouraged him to imagine that the trees in the jungles, he had to receive them as the people. He improved a lot, and later on he became the leader of so many millions of people. Millions of people. So that is very useful techniques, where what you can do is you can speak with yourself. So many people often say that speak in front of the mirror. That is okay, but it has become that tasteless nowadays. People do not do like that. Why do you speak in front of the mirror? Why don't you go speak in front of the wall, in front of the tree, in front of some buildings, mountains, and some scenario and situation, vehicles, computer, so many things. These are some of the ways to improve your English language. As I have mentioned, that one is assigning yourself a particular role, and on the basis of which you have to perform some tasks by using language. Another one is speaking with something, imagining that you are speaking with somebody. Something can be somebody, and if you are habitual if you develop the habit to speak with those things. I often do sometimes myself while I am alone and I speak with something what is in front of me, and that helps me to improve my English a lot. Okay, I have mentioned 2 ways how you can improve your English language. How can you make your English use more natural? Look at, I have been talking about 2 points. One is correct use of language, another is natural use of language. So in case of English use, rather than correct use is also important, but natural use of language is more important, and you need to consider those things in a very important way with high level of priority. I hope this video has become a little bit supportive to you, and what do you think about my content and my lessons? Please give me some feedback so that I can also moderate my lessons, my interactions, my videos on the basis of your comments, that on the basis of your demands, need and interest. Have a good time. I request you to adopt those 2 strategies to make your English better. Thank you very much. Have a good time. Thank you.